Santa Cruz Small Seed Books. Day 1, The Alchemy of the Trip. Morning light filters through tall windows at Santa Cruz Coffee Roasting Co., filling the cozy cafe with a warm glow. The scent of freshly roasted beans drifts across the room. At a corner table, Eclectic Scout and Sid lean over their steaming mugs, while Portillo Man listens quietly nearby. Across the room, Luna pretends to flip through a zine but is furiously scribbling away. Eclectic Scout. You know, Sid, when folks talk about the Brotherhood of Eternal Love, they make it sound like they just popped up in the late 60s. But there's a whole lineage behind it, one that starts with a scientist on a bicycle in Switzerland. Sid. Exactly. Albert Hofmann at Sandoz Labs synthesized LSD-25 in 1938 and discovered its effects in 1943, that famous bicycle day. Initially, it wasn't underground at all. Sandoz legally distributed Delicid for psychiatric research worldwide, even to the CIA and Harvard. Sight. And that legal era eventually crumbled. By the early 60s, LSD production went underground. That's where Owsley Bear Stanley comes in. Based in Berkeley, he started producing acid of almost clinical purity. Eclectic Scout, and then Tim Scully, the physics whiz, apprenticed under Owsley and honed those biochemical methods. Scully eventually passed his knowledge on to Nicholas Sand. That's when things got serious. Right. Sand joined the Brotherhood of Eternal Love, and together they created Orange Sunshine, bright orange, 300 microgram tabs. These were not just powerful, but uniformly clean, legendary in the movement. Meanwhile, some of those Surfer Brotherhood guys were starring in The Endless Summer, officially a surf documentary, unofficially a front for hunts for exotic cannabis strains. Then they'd smuggle the haul into Hawaii and offload it at McKenna Beach, Maui. Eclectic Scout, up north, Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters were hosting acid tests, notably in Santa Cruz, turning LSD into a communal experience with music, lights, and the Grateful Dead as the house band. Sid. And yes, much of that LSD was Orange Sunshine. The Brotherhood didn't just have ideals. They had the means to fuel a worldwide psychedelic wave. Portillo Man, sadly, it came crashing down in the early 70s. DEA raids, arrests, exile. But by then, the cultural shift was indelible. Music, art, even early computer culture had been rewired by that orange spark. Eclectic Scout, from Hoffman's lab in Europe to Maui beaches, from Santa Cruz acid tests to global broadcast. All this over coffee in a cafe that's half artisan roastery, half cultural crossroads. Luna's side note, Santa Cruz Coffee Roasting Co. at 1330 Pacific Avenue has been serving top-tier small batch brews since 1978. Stepping in here feels like entering a time capsule that knows how to brew both coffee and history. Santa Cruz Small Seed Books. Day 2, Wired Minds. Late afternoon at Santa Cruz Coffee Roasting Co., the cafe hums with quiet conversations and the faint hiss of milk steaming. Eclectic Scout, Sid, and Portillo Man have claimed a large table near the window. Outside, the Pacific Avenue foot traffic ebbs and flows like a tide. Luna sits at the counter, pretending to read, but clearly eavesdropping again. Eclectic Scout. So yesterday was the chemistry and the brotherhood. But here's what most people miss. LSD didn't just reshape music festivals. It rewired the minds of people who built the tech world. Sid, think about it. Many early computer pioneers had direct psychedelic experiences. Steve Jobs once said taking LSD was one of the 2 or 3 most important things he ever did. Douglas Engelbart, who invented the computer mouse, was part of experiments where LSD sessions inspired radical problem solving. Portillo Man and Stuart Brand, publisher of the Whole Earth catalog. He bridged the hippie counterculture and Silicon Valley. That catalog was like a proto-internet, a place where tools, ideas, and radical visions could connect. A lot of that spirit came from expanded mind experiences. Eclectic Scout, even networking tech itself has roots in altered thinking. The very idea of distributed systems, non-hierarchical networks, mirrors the decentralized, nonlinear mental flow people describe on psychedelics. And that wasn't just in computers. Psychedelics influenced environmental thinking too. The same minds dreaming up network protocols were talking about spaceship Earth and systems ecology, which loops right back to Santa Cruz. This town's been a node in that network since the 60s. Acid tests, progressive university programs, experimental art spaces. The cafe here? It's seen more startup brainstorms and grassroots organizing than some co-working spaces. Eclectic Scout. So you've got Hoffman's Molecule, underground chemists, Brotherhood distribution, counterculture explosion, and then this quieter, more enduring shift into science, tech, and the way we imagine the future. The trip never really ended. It just moved into code, policy, and the blueprints of the world we're still building. Luna's side note: Santa Cruz Coffee Roasting Co. isn't just a caffeine stop, it's a crossroads of surfers, students, scientists, and dreamers. The high ceilings, warm wood tones, and constant aroma of beans roasting seem to pull ideas right out of the air. If you listen closely, you might catch the sound of the next cultural shift being plotted over a cappuccino. Santa Cruz Small Seed Books. Day 3. The Return Trip. Morning sunlight spills across the worn oak tables of Santa Cruz Coffee Roasting Co. Sid, Portillo Man, and Eclectic Scout have met up early, mugs in hand, the smell of freshly ground beans wrapping around them. Outside, the morning fog is burning off over Pacific Avenue. Eclectic Scout. So, Day 3. The Return Trip. How the past loops back into now. The thing is, what the original chemists in the Brotherhood were chasing, it wasn't just about getting high. It was about transformation. Individual, cultural, planetary. And here we are, decades later, seeing legal psychedelic therapy clinics in Oregon and Colorado, Johns Hopkins running psilocybin studies, Silicon Valley execs microdosing to optimize cognitive flow. It's like the underground went above ground. Well, parts of it. Yeah, and the community side is resurfacing too. Intentional living spaces, permaculture farms, Skillshare networks. In a way, they're the grandchildren of those early communes. Funny part? The mainstream's still catching up. Back then, the media painted the Brotherhood as these wild surfer drug smugglers. Now, those same compounds are innovations in mental health. And don't forget the cannabis trail. Those surfers from the endless summer era, hunting exotic strains in Africa, Asia, and South America, helped lay the genetic foundation for today's legal cannabis industry. Maui, McKenna Beach drops. It's all part of the lineage. Eclectic Scout, the lineage is everything. Hoffman in Switzerland, Owsley and Sand in California, the Brotherhood in Laguna, the acid tests up here in Santa Cruz. The connections ran through music, Grateful Dead, Ken Kesey, and through networks of trust. And today, we're reweaving those threads, except now we've got better science, more data, and maybe, just maybe, a chance to integrate what was learned instead of losing it to a backlash. So, it's still the same trip. The molecules just have different passports now. Luna's side note: Santa Cruz has always been a liminal place. Edge of the land, edge of the mainstream. From acid tests to activist meetings, the city has quietly kept the counterculture flame alive. The conversations at Santa Cruz Coffee Roasting Co. aren't just nostalgia. They're a continuation of an experiment in how humans might live, think, and imagine differently.
Please click like and then subscribe. Also share this video with your friends. Thank you.